What happened on live TV left millions stunned, and it all started with one question. During a seemingly normal episode of The View, Joy Behar pushed Sylvester Stallone just a little too far and, within seconds, the studio fell into complete shock. Stallone's response wasn't loud, but it was so sharp, so unexpected, that the entire internet exploded overnight. This wasn't just an interview, it was a moment no one saw coming. And once you hear what Stallone said, you'll understand why this clip is going viral everywhere. Asterisk, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss an update. Now, let's dive into what really happened. It happened in seconds before anyone on set could even breathe. That's how producers later described the explosive moment that unfolded live on The View when Hollywood icon Sylvester Stallone went head-to-head with Joy Behar in a clash no one saw coming. What began as a casual, friendly conversation quickly morphed into one of the most heated, unexpected confrontations in daytime television history. At first, nothing seemed unusual. In fact, the atmosphere was almost electric with excitement. The moment Stallone stepped onto the stage, the audience erupted into cheers. People stood, clapped, and even whistled as he waved and smiled. His presence alone brought a kind of charisma the show rarely experienced. The panel Whoopi, Joy, Sonny, and Sarah greeted him warmly. Everything felt light, relaxed, and harmless. But beneath the surface, something else was brewing. Stallone settled into his seat, cracking a joke about getting older and still doing action scenes. The panel laughed, the crowd responded, and everything appeared perfectly normal. They discussed his latest film, his documentary series, and even a few nostalgic moments from Rocky and Rambo. Stallone was comfortable, confident, completely at ease. But then came the shift. It was subtle at first. A change in Joy Behar's tone. A smirk that lingered just a bit too long. A lean forward in her chair as she prepared her next question, one that would instantly shatter the friendly energy on set. Joy cleared her throat, looked directly at Stallone, and asked, "Sly, you've reinvented yourself many times, but isn't it true that your early success came more from luck than talent?" The studio fell silent. Even the air conditioning seemed to stop. On Stallone's face, the smile faded. His eyebrows lifted slightly, not out of anger, but out of genuine disbelief. The rest of the panel froze. Sonny glanced at Whoopi. Whoopi blinked twice, as if silently asking, "Did she really just say that?" Some audience members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. It was the type of question that cuts deeper than a typical talk show jab. A question that didn't just challenge a celebrity. It undermined decades of sacrifice, struggle, and hard-earned success. Producers backstage exchanged looks. Camera operators tightened their grips. They knew instantly this moment was different. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't playful. This wasn't harmless. This was the spark before the explosion. Stallone took a slow breath. A long one. The kind that tells you someone is choosing their next words very, very carefully. He didn't speak right away, and that silence made the tension 10 times heavier. The audience leaned forward. At home, millions of viewers sensed something was off. They didn't know what was coming, but they felt it. Joy, misreading the silence, doubled down. She added, "I mean, come on, Sylvester. People say, you just acted like yourself. Were you really acting or just being the same tough guy over and over?" And that was it. That was the moment everything shifted. Stallone's posture changed. His expression hardened not in anger, but in resolve. It was the look of a man who'd been pushed too far, publicly, in front of millions. The air in the room tightened. Even the cameras seemed to zoom closer on their own, as if drawn into the tension. Producers later said that was when they all realized this interview was about to become a viral moment, and nothing could stop it. Millions watching live had no idea. They were seconds away from witnessing the clip that would take over TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and every news headline for days. It was the calm before a storm, so unexpected that even The View, known for drama, wasn't ready for it. Asterisk. At first, the interview couldn't have gone smoother. Everything was flowing naturally. Stallone was relaxed, charming, and fully engaged. The questions were light. The energy was upbeat. And the audience was completely invested. They talked about his upcoming film project, how he stays motivated even after 50 years in Hollywood, and the challenges of balancing fame, family, and aging in an industry that never slows down. Stallone joked about still doing action scenes even when my knees don't agree, which sent the crowd into laughter. He shared heartwarming stories about riding Rocky in his tiny apartment, and even threw in a few classic Rocky-style one-liners that got people cheering. Everything was effortless. But that's the thing about live TV. It only takes one moment, one sentence to flip the entire atmosphere upside down. And that moment came when Joy Behar leaned forward. Her smile was too sharp. Her tone was too playful to be innocent. The audience sensed it before the words even left her mouth. She tilted her head, smirked, and dropped the question that would ignite the confrontation. "Sly, you've reinvented yourself so many times, but isn't it true you built your early career on playing the same tough guy over and over? Some people say you were lucky more than talented." The reaction was instant. A wave of gasps rolled through the studio. The type of gasp that says, "Did she really just say that?" The panel froze where they sat, mouths slightly open, unsure whether to step in or stay silent. Even the camera operators hesitated for half a second, unsure which angle to capture. This wasn't the usual playful jab. This wasn't harmless sarcasm. This was a question loaded with insult, wrapped in a fake smile. Stallone blinked slowly, deeply, as if replaying the words in his mind to confirm he heard them correctly. His smile lingered for half a second before fading completely. Joy, unaware or perhaps uncaring about the storm she had just triggered, decided to push even further. She added, "Come on, people want to know. Were you really acting, or just being yourself?" And that was it. That was the line crossed. The tension became almost physical, heavy enough to feel thick enough to slice. Laughter died. The chatter stopped. Everyone's focus snapped to Stallone, waiting to see how he would respond. The audience sat frozen, some shifting nervously, others whispering "Oh my God" under their breath. For a man who built his career portraying strength, resilience, and determination, this wasn't just a rude question. It was a public attempt to diminish everything he had ever worked for. Stallone's posture changed. He sat back in his chair, jaw tightening slightly. His eyes narrowed just enough to show he wasn't amused anymore. The warmth on his face evaporated. The charming movie star smile went silent. A new energy filled the room, an electric, dangerous stillness, the kind you feel right before a storm hits. Even the co-hosts sensed it. Whoopi's eyes widened. Sunny shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Sarah clasped her hands together, glancing toward the producers as if silently asking whether they should intervene. But it was too late. The question was already out there. The tone had already shifted, and everyone could see that Stallone, who had been open, cheerful, and gracious, was suddenly weighing his next words with precision. The audience wasn't just watching an interview anymore. They were watching a confrontation unfold in real time. What made the moment even more intense was Joy's expression. She didn't back down. She didn't soften the blow. She looked almost amused, as if she wasn't a railroad, didn't care that she had just poked a man whose entire legacy was built on fighting through odds, hardship, and personal battles. And Stallone. He leaned forward just slightly, the muscles in his jaw tightening. The room was silent. The tension was suffocating. Everyone knew something major was about to happen, because after that question, there was no going back. For a moment, the studio was frozen. The tension was almost unbearable. Everyone knew that Stallone had been pushed too far, and the question on everyone's mind was, how would he respond? Would he get angry, snap, or storm off the stage? But Stallone did something far more powerful. He didn't raise his voice, he didn't yell, he didn't even flinch. Instead, he leaned forward slightly, and with a calmness that made the air itself feel heavier, he spoke. His tone was quiet, measured, almost serene, but it carried more force than any shout ever could. Every word hit with precision, like a punch you didn't see coming. Joy, I wrote Rocky on paper bags when I had nothing. I sold my dog to survive. I wasn't lucky. I fought for every inch of my career. The audience, who had been holding their breath, erupted. Some clapped, some gasped, and a few whispered in disbelief. It was the kind of response that left you in awe, not just of the words, but of the weight they carried. Here was a man standing up for himself, not with anger, but with truth. Life, his struggles, and his sacrifices were laid bare in that single, composed statement. Joy tried to interject, hoping to redirect the moment, to laugh it off, or shrug it away. But Stallone didn't give her the opening. His presence filled the room. His words cut through the tension like a knife. Precise and unyielding. People see success and think it happened overnight. They don't see the years of rejection, the sacrifices, the nights I slept in a bus station. That's not luck, that's work, and I won't let anyone reduce that to a punchline. The other hosts looked genuinely stunned. Even the production crew backstage could be heard murmuring in disbelief at the sheer intensity of the moment. What had started as a playful talk show interview had now transformed into a lesson in respect, perseverance, and humility. Joy tried again, raising her hands in a half-hearted attempt at humor. She smiled nervously and said, "Hey, it's just a question," hoping perhaps that the moment would pass. But Stallone's gaze never wavered, his voice never faltered. "A question is fine," he said, calm but cutting. "But disrespect is something else." That sentence hung in the air like a thunderclap. It was simple, clear, and devastating in its honesty. The crowd responded instantly, some cheered, some gasped, and everyone in the room understood the gravity of the moment. Social media would later erupt with clips of this precise exchange, with millions agreeing that Stallone had handled himself with grace and authority. This wasn't just a celebrity confrontation, it was a lesson in standing your ground without losing composure. Stallone didn't need to shout, to slam the table, or to point fingers. His words alone carried the weight of 50 years of hard work, resilience, and relentless determination. Every eye in the studio was fixed on him, every ear listening intently, and every viewer at home felt the intensity of the moment. By the time Stallone finished speaking, it was clear. Joy Behar had been checked, and she had been checked hard. The playful banter, the smirk, the just a question lines, they were all gone. The moment had shifted, the balance of the interview had changed, and the studio and the world watching knew that Stallone had reclaimed control without raising his voice. It was a moment of raw truth, of undeniable authority, and of earned respect. One that would be replayed on social media for days, dissected in news outlets, and remembered as one of the most powerful composed comebacks in daytime television history. By the end of it, the message was clear. Some things, like a lifetime of struggle, sacrifice, and integrity are never just a punchline. After Stallone's calm but cutting response, the energy in the studio shifted completely. What had begun as a playful interview had transformed into a tense showdown. And everyone could feel it, co-hosts, crew, and the audience alike. Joy Behar suddenly realized the direction the conversation had taken. The dynamic she thought she controlled had slipped from her grasp. What she intended as banter or humor had instead exposed her, and now she was scrambling to regain control. She tried to pivot, laughing nervously, leaning into jokes she hoped would lighten the mood. She made small comments about Stallone's films, attempting to redirect the conversation back to safe territory. She even tried to ask lighter questions, hoping the spotlight would shift. But it was clear nothing was working. Stallone's presence dominated the room. His composure, his controlled yet undeniable intensity, left no space for dismissing or sidestepping the tension. The joke she had intended to land fell flat, replaced by an undeniable truth that echoed across the studio. Finally, in a moment of desperation, Joy attempted to smooth things over. She raised her hands, offering what she thought was a conciliatory smile, and said, "Well, Sly, you don't have to take it so personally. We joke on this show." The audience stiffened. A few uneasy chuckles floated through the studio. But the room was already aware that this wasn't just humor, it was confrontation. Stallone didn't rise to the bait. He didn't raise his voice. He simply smiled a calm, almost disarming smile, but the words that followed were precise, measured, and unyielding. Then joke with respect. I'm not a rookie actor you can poke for views. I've been in this industry for 50 years. I know the difference between banter and belittling. The applause was immediate. It rolled across the studio like a wave, punctuating every word he had just said. The crowd understood the gravity of the moment. Stallone had just set a line in stone, not with anger, but with dignity, authority, and undeniable truth. Joy, visibly shaken, tried to maintain a laugh, but it came out strained and hollow. The tension in her voice betrayed the discomfort she felt. For the first time, it was clear that the show was no longer hers to control. Even the cameras, capturing the live reaction, seemed to linger longer than usual on her expression. Then, in an unusual move, the producers cut to commercial, earlier rare occurrence on a live daytime show. The decision spoke volumes about the chaos behind the scenes. Backstage, the producers were scrambling. They whispered urgently into headsets, trying to decide how to salvage the show, how to pivot, how to rescue a moment that had quickly escalated beyond anyone's expectations. Crew members were shuffling papers, adjusting cameras, and nervously glancing at one another. Every second stretched as they tried to anticipate Stallone's next move, and the tension was palpable. According to eyewitnesses in the studio audience, Joy avoided Stallone's gaze entirely during the break. It was as if she understood, even without words, the weight of the truth he had delivered. She knew the clip would be dissected, replayed, and shared for days on social media. And in that moment, there was nothing she could do to change it. When the show returned from commercial, the damage was already done. The conversation resumed, but the atmosphere was irrevocably altered. The playful, light-hearted energy had vanished, replaced by a heavy, tense awareness. The audience, both live and at home, knew they had just witnessed something extraordinary, a confrontation that had begun with a single question and escalated into a historic, unforgettable moment. This was more than just an interview gone wrong. It was a lesson in respect, a display of composure under pressure, and a reminder of how powerful truth can be when delivered with calm authority. Stallone had turned a potentially humiliating situation into a defining moment of his career, while Joy Behar, despite her attempt at humor, was left visibly rattled, struggling to regain control over what had already become a viral, iconic television moment. By the time the episode ended, it was clear to everyone, the dynamics of the show had changed forever, and the world outside the studio's social media, news outlets, and viewers around the globe was about to witness and react to one of the most unforgettable clashes in daytime television history. Asterisk. The moment The View went off the air that day, the world went into a frenzy. Social media exploded as clips of the confrontation between Sylvester Stallone and Joy Behar began circulating online. Within minutes, the short segment of Stallone calmly defending his career became a viral sensation. TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, and X were flooded with the clip. People couldn't stop talking about the intensity of the exchange, the sharpness of Stallone's words, and the shock on Joy's face. Fans praised Stallone for his composed yet devastating response. Many commented on how he handled himself with dignity, choosing truth over anger. He didn't need to yell or get defensive. His words carried the weight of decades of hard work and sacrifice. The audience online appreciated the lesson in respect and poise, calling it a rare display of professionalism and self-respect on live television. Hashtags began trending almost immediately, dominating conversations around the world. Hashtag Team Stallone, hashtag Joy, went to far, hashtag The View Drama. Hashtag respects-like comments poured in from all corners of the internet. Some read, Sly handled that with pure class. True legend. Joy looked completely outmatched. Awkward TV moment. This is the most embarrassing thing she's done on air. Even celebrities joined the conversation, weighing in on the unexpected clash. Some called Stallone's response legendary, applauding him for delivering a masterclass in composure. Others criticized Joy for crossing a line, emphasizing that disrespecting a guest who had devoted his life to his craft was uncalled for. News outlets didn't hold back either. Headlines across entertainment sites made it clear that this was no ordinary interview. Stallone silences the View panel with brutal truth. Joy Behar shut down live on air after insulting comment. A career's worth of hard work, summed up in one powerful moment. The story quickly transcended the typical celebrity gossip. It became a viral lesson on respect, humility, and the boundaries of live television. Viewers debated for hours, was Joy out of line? Did Stallone handle it perfectly? The consensus was clear: Stallone's measured response had won the moment. And the internet loved it. Meanwhile, Stallone himself addressed the incident with his usual class. He posted a short but impactful message online. Respect is something we all deserve, especially when we've worked our whole lives for it. The post resonated deeply with fans and garnered millions of likes within hours. It perfectly captured the essence of the incident without dragging anyone into unnecessary conflict. Stallone didn't need to over-explain or retaliate. His calm authority spoke louder than any social media rant ever could. Joy, however, remained silent. She issued no public statement regarding the exchange. But keen viewers noticed something subtle the next day on The View. She appeared quieter, more reserved, and noticeably more careful with her words. The confidence that once defined her on-air persona seemed tempered. A reflection of just how powerful Stallone's response had been. The world knew exactly what had happened. What viewers witnessed was more than a clash between a celebrity and a talk show host. Was a moment of accountability, respect, and undeniable truth broadcast to millions. A Hollywood icon had walked into a studio expecting a routine interview. Instead, he delivered a masterclass in dignity and composure. And in doing so, he left an indelible mark, not just on the show, not just on Joy Behar, but on everyone who watched. This wasn't just TV, this was history in motion. A lesson in respect, earned through decades of struggle, sacrifice, and sheer determination. And one that no one, especially Joy Behar, would ever forget.